A motion by Helmut.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know, those government people that make regulations and laws that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, those are the people you elected, and the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that important meeting or not, and the results can be a taxing situation.
Yes, it can be. And like David said, you want to attend these meetings because if you don't, it'll usually come back to bite you later. And what we find...
If only I'd raised my hand.
Yeah, what we have found, what others have found too, is that there's humor.
Yes, there are.
These meetings.
Some laugh, some cry.
Yep, some laugh, some cry. And there's also rumors, which is spread by over here. So you want to pay close attention to what we talk about.
That's right.
Yep. If you haven't attended those meetings, though, you will get the gist of what went on just by viewing Minutes by Minute here.
Or even the jest.
The jest, mostly the jest, probably. But let's talk about a couple of meetings that came up last week. One was the Oxford Township Board of Trustees, which is April 11th. And the other one is Addison Township Board meeting that they had with trustees as well. And that was on April 16th, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll talk about those. First, we'll talk about the people that are on this board for the township, for Oxford. William Dunn, of course, is supervisor of the township, and he heads as a chair. Curtis Wright is the clerk. He serves the board, and Joe Ferranti, here, what's his name? You know, a good old what's his name? Ferrari, that guy. Yeah.
He's the treasurer.
Yep. I just said that to see if you knew who it was.
I know who it was.
You work with him all the time, don't you?
Who's testing who here?
This whole show is a test, folks. Just bear with us. But you work with Joe Ferrari on a lot of financials, right?
Yeah, yep. He's been very, very helpful.
Yep, he is very, very sharp guy, very smart. And trustees on the board, of course, are Jack Curtis. Most people in this area know Jack. Marge Payne, who was with the fire department for a number of years, and Patty Durr, and yours truly, Elgin Nichols.
But who's the secretary?
Secretary was Kelly Richter. Kelly Richter serves as a recording secretary.
I see. She takes the minutes?
Well, sometimes she does, sometimes she don't.
And who is that other person that does the minutes?
You're talking about Polly Ann Trail, though.
Oh, maybe I am.
I think you are. Think about that one for a while. This will put him to sleep, folks. He won't be back for a while.
You mean this isn't the Polly Ann Trail?
No.
Oh, well then.
See what I mean? When you hear him snore, you know he missed the meeting. There goes a train.
You've got to be more exciting.
Got to be more exciting. Okay, let's get more exciting then. They did the pledge, and they covered the agenda. And Curtis Wright, who's the clerk, wanted to move a few items around, kind of like the pea under the, the nut, moving it around. Okay. So that's what he did. He's pretty good at that too. So he knew what to do. So
that meant someone wanted to leave early?
No, nobody wanted to leave early. Everybody wanted to get the business done. That's a good thing with the township board. I mean, they're in there. They're watching the budgets, and I think led by the charge from Bill Dunn. Do a pretty good job for you folks out there. You may not always agree with what happens.
Bill runs a tight meeting.
But you always have a right as a citizen to complain. So in the next meeting, make sure you show up. Everybody needs to complain to Bill Dunn and everybody on the board.
Oh, you're going to be appreciated for that one.
I'm pretty sure I will. And particularly, I want to single out Curtis Wright because he hardly ever gets any negative publicity.
Oh.
So this would be positive publicity, though. I wonder if you'll look at it that way. Maybe not, huh?
You'll find out.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so the consent agenda was approved immediately, received and filed. Public comment. Items not on the agenda. No? Nobody wanted to speak.
There was a pregnant pause there, I was wondering.
There were people there, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just didn't choose to speak at that time.
They just chose to look at their shoes?
They did. And there were a few shiny ones, a few not so shiny. But anyhow, first thing that came up on the agenda was the human relations presentation. Jenny...
human relations or human resource?
Human resource, which covers human relations.
No.
Yeah, I knew this was going to come, folks. I'm almost sorry I woke him up over here. But anyway,
Told me to pay attention.
yeah, Jenny Gahowski, who is and employed by Paycheck Incorporated. For some time, they've been looking for the township to have HR control, human relations. And just because things are getting more sticky now with various townships and villages and so forth.
There are rules,
Yep.
and there are rules that didn't exist yesterday.
Right, those rules keep changing.
That's right.
And to keep up with the rules and keep up with the work required to keep the township running, two different things. You can't really be all hats to all people. I guess that's one way to put it. She brought a assistant along also, and they gave a great presentation of what they do. They're going to provide an employee manual, which I don't believe they have.
I think
a
they're
handbook.
going to be helping us too.
I think that would be a good idea, don't you?
Yep.
When was the last time we had a handbook?
An
It's a trick question.
You mean an approved handbook?
Yeah, anything that you could read. Okay. Anyway, that's been a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure that they could assist as well. Cost for the township is roughly $2,000 for implementation. That's putting together the handbooks and so forth. And then there's a $10,000 annual fee for this service. But they don't just provide handbooks and so forth and legal information, for the township. They also provide training on how the various people in government should handle you, the public out there, and in other words, be a kinder, milder, friendly nation.
Well, and as an organization, how to handle employees and,
Yes.
and situations that arise.
Right. Now, there was some talk about getting the public parks and works involved in this also with their employees. And also possibly there's other entities that are connected to the township, such as Communications Commission, people there, that down the line there might be a possibility of getting them involved with the HR program.
That'll be good.
So, but the first step was to approve it, for the township. And I think they'll use that as a pilot to make sure that things are going to work the way they think they should work, which is a smart move, I think. So that's it. It was approved. The next thing that they talked about,
You don't want to get gigged by the government.
you don't want to get gigged by the government. They
Especially
never
if
give
you
up.
are in the government.
Well, the thing is, you folks know that the government is after you. They're relentless. They don't give up. And they seem to have unlimited resources, which, by the way, are your resources.
Not quite
They're using.
not quite that unrelenting zombie apocalypse, but you know.
Right. It comes close, doesn't it? Okay. Anyway, the Baldwin zoning required, R1 district from farm area was approved
For what?
for the master plan. Because what happened, remember we talked about this where it didn't concur with the master plan, and so it had to be brought back into line?
Was it a particular location?
Yeah, it's Baldwin zoning ordinance over in the Baldwin area. So,
Oh, okay.
you got it?
Sure.
With that, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the trustee board for Oxford Township and what went on down there, or over there, here, there.
Let's cover the second inning here.
We'll do that. Okay, the next person on the bat, up to bat, was the fire department. And Pete Schultz, of course, is the fire chief. And they said, okay, Pete, you're on. He said, So he
What?
didn't have anything.
Oh,
So that took care of that.
Change my mind.
Then they said, well, with that, we'll go to unfinished business. And final site plan for the North Oakland Woods condominium.
Where's that?
North Woods. So, Oakland
We
Woods.
got to get you a GPS.
We do. Actually, you got to take better notes.
Oh,
I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
you expect me
That
to
big
draw the
stack
map?
of yellows. That big stack of yellows is going nowheres. I can
That'd be
see
kind of a
that.
nice thing to do. Have a little auxiliary map behind us where you can go. It's there.
We could do that, you know, with a green screen. We could have a
Absolutely.
map.
We have technology.
Yeah, we could have dogs running past the window and all kinds of things. We could do that. Take a note. Okay, we'll go on with this meeting here.
That
Getting
note's not gonna-
sidetracked.
That note's going to hit the wall.
Right. So let me see, what came up next? 925 Legacy Entertainment, LLC liquor license agreement. Curtis Wright presented the agreement. As you know, it was approved for the liquor license for Class C.
And Class C would be
Would be wine and beer.
not liquor?
Well, that's liquor. That's why it goes through the Liquor Control Board.
I think it's one grade if it's only wine and beer, and another grade if it is wine, beer,
You
and
know
liquor.
who has to approve it?
Who?
Liquor Control Board. Would you call it liquor then? I guess I would.
Not
Because they do.
Well,
Well. All right. He says, well. Anyhow, we know what it is, folks.
let us not split hairs.
Right. Anyway, the contract had to be completed, and it was, so it took care of that. Let me see. North Oakland Transportation Authority, known as NOTA. Right. That agreement came up also for the township, and so we approved it, of course. Keep your folks riding the bus out there, and we did. New business, North Oakland.
North Oakland Transportation
Got it.
Authority.
Yeah, right. Again, we come back. Notice how the 360 degrees, right back to it again. As you know, there's going to be a
Deja vu.
ballot for approval of funds, you know, for NOTA coming up in August. You know,
Tax.
right. And so the wording of how that would go on the ballot had to be approved by the township. And it was. There was no problem, all finished and ready to go.
And that is an organization where you know you're getting value for your buck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's people that they have no means of transportation. If it was gone, I mean,
They have to ride their bicycles.
Yeah, a lot of them can't ride bicycles.
I know that.
They have to get magnets with a hook or something to hook onto
But
your
it's,
car
a,
when they
but,
come
it's a, but it's an extremely valuable service, and
Yeah, it
the
is.
vehicles that they drive are wheelchair accessible and very, very nice.
Right. Well, another thing they talked about was Elkview Estates, and they have a drainage issue over there and paving. And so they're going to request 3 bids to be taken. And they did review it, and Sherry Ann Construction was the lowest bid. And with that, the lowest bid was $225,000 to get this project completed. So just cutting to the chase, it was approved, ready to go.
All right.
Lowest bid. Also, I want to say that this company does an excellent job according to the references. And one of the references, of course, was the Parks and Recreation. You know, so that was kind of a no-brainer in this case.
They vet their suppliers pretty well.
They do. Prepayment of the water connection fees. I don't know if you're aware, but there's on the southeast district.
It's a water.
It's a connection. They're going to make. They're going to run a water line down the southeast district.
Okay.
And when they do that, before it gets to your location, folks, you can actually pay in advance of this hookup. So you're not going to have to pay for it later.
What is it per resident?
I don't know. It depends on how many feet they have to run it, I think.
Okay.
You know,
Oh, it's just not a flat rate.
Not, well, no. I mean, if you got an itty-bitty house here with 20 feet of property,
Itty bitty.
20 feet of frontage, and
They
the other
put an
guy's got
itty-bitty pipe
300
in,
feet of
right? I don't
frontage,
I know.
that could be a problem. I think you'd come out ahead if you folks pay in advance on this, so you might want to look into it and check with the township. Also, approval of, let me see, what else do we have? Any owner belonging to, can pay in advance. We already covered that. 2018 chloride program. Yeah, we want to make sure that those roads have salt on them. so that you folks can buy a new car next year.
And not get dust on them.
No, I mean, I don't think they're as prone to rust anymore, are they? I mean, a lot of plastic
no,
on cars now.
they've done an awful lot of galvanizing of panels and what have you, and
They've found a way to deter the rust problem.
the chloride is not sodium chloride; it's calcium chloride, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Which has different properties altogether.
It does. You can tell me more about this. This is David, the science man. He knows all about science. And for you folks that want to check on science.
And table salt.
And table salt. Folks want to know all about science, just call him. I'll give you his home phone number later.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay, that'll work for me. All right, West Nile virus program. You remember last year that they had the program where they had the little
Had little
briquettes?
donuts. They had
Briquettes.
like a little, really did look like a little donut, and you put them in your drains and what have you.
People kept eating them, so they had to make briquettes this year. So
But it's
anyway,
a slow dissolving thing, and it
Yeah.
knocks off those little
and
suckers.
they have pellets also, so you can throw the pellets in your, eaves trough, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Take the briquettes, throw it in your swimming pool,
It's,
whatever you need to do.
it's something you do not want to get.
All right, and it doesn't cost you anything,
That is
folks.
the West Nile virus, not the
Right,
briquettes.
not the virus. But to get these pellets and so forth, you can go to the township and they'll have them available probably within the next month or so. And they don't cost anything. You just make sure that you're a resident. You go in and you sign a form and you got them. You tell them how many you need and what you're going to use it for. That's pretty much it. Zoning Board of Appeals. They want to appoint an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Sandy Birch was the name that was recommended by the Bill Dunn guy, that guy. So anyway, everybody
Supervisor.
pretty much fell in line. Well, I knew what it was. I was just waiting for you to say it. Anyhow, they, boy, I'll tell you.
I thought you were
this is
flopping
how-
around over there.
This is how I know if you're awake or asleep. I have to check on it. So anyway, Sandy Birch was placed on the board now as a alternate.
Okay.
Zoning Board of Appeals. That's a legal entity. I mean, they
Right.
have the ability to change things.
Well, you don't get satisfaction from the Planning Commission, you can take
Right.
it up a notch.
And the thing is, they might make an exception in your case. It doesn't become a rule. I mean, they're able to do that. They take each case by case and work on its merits and determine if it fits or it doesn't fit the ordinances and so forth, and what needs to be adjusted. So anyway, pretty neat group of people.
Yeah, you can't appeal much above them.
Right. Now, they did talk about the Wood Trail update, and I'm talking about
The giant sinkhole.
the sinkhole that never ends. It keeps
No,
getting bigger and bigger. No, it's not. It's getting smaller now. But actually, there's a cost involved with the township, you folks out there. And Jim Sharp, who's the engineer, indicated that the county wanted to repair the damage, send a bill back to us if we want to go that route, or we can get our own contractor to come in and do the project. And everybody felt that it'd be less money if we had our own contractor do it, and because the estimate in that would be around $20,000 as opposed to maybe double that.
the county wouldn't give you an estimate.
No, they won't at this point unless you say, yeah, we're ready to go. But according to their experience in the past, county has been a little more money, the road commission, than it would cost, to have somebody else, that you'd hire to bring in.
Is there still a great big gaping hole there, or have they filled that in, or what?
Well, they're getting it. They're working on it as we speak. And as we speak, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're pretty much wrapped up, I think, on the Oxford Township Board.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the Addison Township Board. We have Bruce Pearson, who's the supervisor of the township, serves as the chair. Pauline Bennett is the clerk. Lori Fisher is the treasurer. And Jacob Newby doing a great job out there, is one of the trustees, Joel King, Linda Gurick, and of course Eric Sent. And Eric is an interesting guy. He's very knowledgeable, you know, very savvy, smart guy. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go past this group of people, and we're going to say they did the pledge, and the prayer was provided by Jacob Newby. Is there a prayer? Yes, there is. So anyway, so they went on with the meeting.
Certainly sounds better than we haven't got a prayer.
Right, we haven't got a prayer. Petitions, are there any petitions? You know, no petitions, okay. Approval of agenda, all voted yes. Man, we're moving along on this one, aren't we?
Oh boy.
Consent agenda. They wanted to approve March 19th minutes, the bills for March 2018, which I think was around 27,000. Now that would be a rumor.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
You
we're
rounded.
good. Yeah.
You rounded for the
could round
first
it.
time.
I could have reduced it too.
You
Or I could have lengthened it.
You usually tunnel down to the pennies.
I do, but they're pretty frugal over there,
Okay.
so anything past $1.50, I'll bring up. Budget amendment, they need an amendment made to transfer funds, $600, not a big amount of money. Enter a government agreement between Oakland Township and Addison Township for a reserve fire engine. In other words, if they need one, there it is. But they have to have an interlocal agreement in order to do that, so it was approved immediately. Oxford Addison Youth Assistance, OAYA. Now that's probably one that you're not too familiar with.
That sounds like what a
yeah.
bailiff says in court. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's probably where it came from. I don't know.
I don't
It's for a sponsorship for 2018, and it amounts to $5,385. Now that's going to end up more than what your budget is. You keep this up. No, it's not. It's a good organization, so they felt that it was a good move to make. Sheriff's agreement. Needed to talk about the sheriff's agreement, which is coming up, and Bruce Pearson said that they need to fill a gap for officers, for 2 of them, mostly on the night shift, midnight shift, and he said during the 2008 period where they had to cut expenses, they kind of pulled, you know, some of the resources back, so they didn't have full police protection in that way, and way they felt comfortable. And finally, he said, we're in a spot now that financially we're pretty well set, so we need to reinstate that. And so they talked about it, and they figured that would be a great move to do, so they approved it immediately. Second thing they talked about was the Marine Division and what could be appropriated for the Marine Division. As you know, people on the lake are complaining that people are having parties in their front yard, which would be the lakeside.
So they're sending in the Marines?
They've sent the Marines in before. Actually, this Marine group are volunteers, and even though they're sworn in, they have to go through certain training, you know, for boating and
So
protocol.
they would be like reserve people, or what?
Well, they would be, but here's the thing you folks don't realize is that the people that are Marine police officers out there that are policing, as a rule, they can place you under arrest, but they can't handle the paperwork, they can't do the processing. So that has to go to the Sheriff's Department, and a full-time deputy has to be involved in that. So, and to keep in mind, the full-time deputies also can serve as Marine. So, you know, if you have a problem out on the lake, call 911 and you'll get response.
Yeah.
And they have a boat ready to go. But here's the thing, they want to keep the boat in the lake. They want to be able to use it on a regular basis.
Rather than having to launch it all the time.
Right. And there's $2,000 available, Bruce Pearson said, but also there's a thing called restitution funds. You know, when you get pulled over there and they want their money from you, and well, what happens is if you go to court, that kind of thing, the expense is kicked back to the township or to the police
Portion
department.
of it,
Yeah, that's called restitution. And restitution funds are returned, you know, to the Sheriff's Department. Hey, here's how nice these Oakland County Sheriff's deputies are over there. They said, we will normally use this restitution funds for equipment that we need and so forth. We will donate the funds this year to the Marine so that you folks will
really
have
nice of
protection
them.
on the lake. Isn't that neat?
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's the way those people work over there in Addison. I mean, they all pitch in and do what they feel they should do. And the officers, even in Oxford Township, I mean, the Sheriff's Department, they do a great job.
Yeah.
Their family
Oakland
men,
County Sheriffs are a really professional, good
are.
group.
And the village is doing a great job as police. I mean, you folks ought to feel pretty secure, you know, with the police officers that we have in this area.
Good response time, everything.
I know when I did reporting, and I had to pick up information, you know, from the Township Sheriff's Department, in Oakland County, I would talk to officers from time to time, and they're family people just like you are. They are concerned that they get home safely to their family and kids, just like you are. So, you know, they're doing a great job for you folks out here in this community. Glad to have them.
Yep.
And Addison Township, they're delighted too. So they're going to have, you're going to have protection out there in terms of lake sheriff patrols, you know, this year.
You'll have protection on the lake, and watch that wake.
Watch the wake. Yeah. Hopefully you won't have those parties, you know, in your front yard. It's kind of interesting on a lake, you know. The lake side is the front yard, and the road side is your backyard. It's kind of reversed around.
Yeah.
I think. Resolution for NODA millage. Supplementing existing capital and operating expenses for the North Oakland Transportation Authority. Pretty much the same as what Oxford Township did. They had to approve it, and it was approved as a resolution. A Construction Board of Appeals. Now, you may have not heard of this
The
one.
Construction Board of Appeals.
They're not commonly used in most townships, but there is a structure that is available, and it's called Construction Board of Appeals.
How is it different than the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Zoning Board is trying to deviate from the existing ordinances. The
Seems
construction, there's certain criteria when you build a building.
You think
that's
that would be the
required.
Planning Commission?
Right. For example, did you know that the state code for 2x4s is actually 24 inches wide, not 16 inch on center? Most people don't know that. But most contractors that are worth their salt, you talk about salt, they would never do a 24-inch wide, you know, outdoor or outer wall. It's going to be 16 inches minimum. So that's news.
Steady construction guy.
Right. So anyway, you folks don't want a 24-inch wall. Actually, you do them in 2x6s now, and even then you don't want 24-inch.
Oh God, he's talking shop.
Right. And most of you builders out there will agree with me on this one, I'm sure. It's a little more expensive to build, but it'll last you longer. Well, not that you can live that long, but hopefully you can. Okay. The people that they put on this construction board of appeals is Scott Cope, Kenneth Borsick, and Michael Gable. Also, there's an alternate, Richard Bochner, I believe his name is. And I probably massacred your name there.
They probably don't convene that often, do they?
Probably like zoning board in this area, you know, for the, actually,
But they have
the
a
township
zoning board.
township has zoning board of appeal all the time, usually every month.
But does Oxford Township have a construction board of appeal?
Not construction, they have a zoning board of appeals.
But
No.
Addison has a zoning board of appeals.
They do. Two different entities. And according to Bruce Pearson, the reason why they have to have this construction board of appeals is the first time that he's ever seen it where a case has come up where it's actually going to be applicable, you know, to a construction appeals board rather than the zoning board of appeals
Or the Planning Commission.
or the planning commission. Well, it'll probably hit the planning commission first anyway. The guy's building a house, you need a site plan approval. But anyway, that's the way it is over there in
I thought they
Addison.
resolved all those issues in the Planning Commission, no.
All of them?
No,
do
then
you
the
mean by
Zoning Board of
all?
Appeals kicks in.
Right, you got it. All right. And then they said, any public forum? Nope. And that was it. What's coming up?
What's coming up? Well, there has been a change in the OACCC, our Oxford Area Cable Communications meeting.
Tell me
It
more.
was scheduled for the 23rd, and now it's been moved to 4:30.
Wow.
But on 5/7, at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals, and on 5/8 at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council will be meeting. And on that same day at 6 o'clock, the Addison Township Planning Commission. On 5/9 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Board of Trustees, and on 5/10 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission, and at 6 o'clock that same day, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals.
Now, that zoning board of appeals was for the village, right?
What?
Coming up?
Yes, on 5/7.
Guess who's on that board?
Yeah?
Yeah. With that, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time right here on Minutes
See you
by
then.
Minute.